Hey y'all, welcome back to another weekly prep on Tick Syndicate. Let me go ahead and pull up my last week's prep chart and let's see how things unfolded. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Just here we go. All right, cool. Excuse me. So hopefully my voice sounds a little bit better and I don't have that weird T-Pain auto-tuned voice effect that Zoom was throwing on. I think it was because I was clipping on my mixer, had the input volume turned up too high. But yeah, so this is last week's weekly prep. Just so I could fit more bars in, I've changed this to a 3 hour chart. I think during the weekly prep we were using a 15-minute chart. But just so we get to see how the week unfolded relative to my expectations. So basically, we had this monthly and weekly reference buy zone down here. We got a couple tests last week, starting on the 7th, right here. Um, buyers buyers were able to quickly take things up, retest this quarterly reference sell zone that I had up here. I thought buyers were actually going to be able to take things away here, but and go up against the previous all-time high, but Friday sell off. So I think on Thursday we closed above the quarterly reference point, and then the Globex Open, which we'll review here shortly because it left a gap. We just shit the bed completely. And Friday closed down back on that monthly weekly reference buy zone that I had tagged down there. So looks like just looking at this, we're looking at an inside week last week. Lot of two-sided action on the auction front. This previous week, reference buy zone and the annual reference buy zone that I had marked didn't really offer too much in opportunities, largely because this was a range-bound week for the most part inside. So it more just acted like a place to take profits on any of the longs that you got into around here. And didn't really see too much initiative behavior up until later in the week. So I think Wednesday, Thursday is when we saw significant attempt from the buyers to push us back up to the previous all-time high, up around 69.54. Um, but yeah, last week was pretty eventful with the FOMC meeting landing on Thursday. We had a couple economic reports that came out, but it definitely was the Fed meeting that where we saw the biggest, cleanest action. So we saw a buy spike up towards the previous all-time high, and then a Globex gap lower that continued into Friday's RT8 session, probing against that monthly, weekly reference buy zone we have. So that is how last week played out. Now let's take a look at the week ahead. So I have rolled over from the ESZ contract over into ESH. That's the March contract. Let's take a look at any economic news that's coming through. Let's go ahead and clear. Let's just look at United States coming up in this week. All right, so tomorrow is Monday. We've got a Fed Moran speech. He's the new Trump appointee to the Fed. Lots of dovish language coming out of him. He's dissented in the last two meetings with a 50 basis point cut versus the consensus 25. We've got another Fed speaker in the morning as well tomorrow. I don't pay too much attention, more just good to be aware of that someone from the Fed is speaking. It's not too huge on that front. It looks like we got a news alert. China's fixed asset investment fell. Okay. Then we've got a T-bill auction. I'll be watching these 3 and 6 month auctions on the Treasury front, but not a whole lot going on by way of high impact news on Monday. Big ones come Tuesday, December 16th. We've got NFP retail sales, which is going to be probably significant for us on ES with the last full trading week of the year, where give us a glimpse into the holiday season, consumer appetite, things like that. We've got the unemployment rate on Tuesday as well as housing starts. And then Thursday is the big one, core inflation month over month, year over year. And then Friday, we've got existing home sales. Let's take a look at moderate impact. farm. Yeah, I don't see anything too egregious. Inflation, T-bill auction, and potentially the Fed speakers are going to be the main things we're going to be watching. All right. So let's go ahead and start at the highest level of aggregation. So, like I was saying, this is a weekly chart of ES. Again, I've rolled over the H contract. I don't back adjust my contracts, but this is how the last week played out. We opened at the previous week's highs, probed to try and test those previous all-time highs, and we ended up lower on the week. So we attempted to auction outside of the previous week high, but ended up closing actually beneath the previous week's close. And it looks like Globex overnight, buyers are stepping in and taking things off. All right, so let's go into our market structure and let's look at how TPOs played out for the week. So here's my TPO chart. Um, these are each TPO profile represents a single trading day. Let me fix some of this. There we go. So, yeah, not a lot to say. Auction was kind of bounded within this 1126 composite profile here. We attempted to break out, saw some back and forth two-way action here from buyers and sellers. Here's where the buyers took things off on FOMC day, and then sellers took back control, and we closed the week inside of this composite structure here that I've been trading off of and leaning pretty heavily intraday on. Uh, could make a case to merge these two profiles given it's about 50% overlap. I'll take a look at that later, but I'm going to go ahead and jump straight into my weekly plan here for the week ahead. So not a ton. All right, that's my ESZ contract. We're on ESH right now. So this is on a 15-minute chart. Here are the areas I'm mostly watching. So my primary buy zone, we're looking at the previous monthly value area high here, down in the 6,860s, high 50s. Be looking for an responsive behavior from buyers if we probe this area. Green zones are areas where I'm looking where buyers might potentially step in. So we've got this monthly developing value area low down here that I'm watching, as well as overlap between the previous week's low or value area low and a TPO reference point here. I think this is the composite value area low. And then this is the composite value area high, which we are hitting up against right now in Globex. These blue lines represent most recent value area highs on the TPO and intraday front. So we've got a value area high here, value area uh, low here, and then the Thursday value area high. And then yellow, we've got the Globex gap down, which I anticipate buyers will make an attempt to close that gap. And then further up ahead, we have a pretty nefarious looking quarterly sell zone I have marked up here. This is developing, so this should change over time. But here I'm just watching this. This is a huge range. Like we're looking at 7,000, 7,010 to 7,055. This is largely just to avoid chasing longs up here. We're getting pretty extended up in that area, and we could see some initiative or responsive selling behavior. But the week ahead, I'm going to be leaning pretty heavily on this as kind of like, as long as we're above this area, I am looking for longs outside of taking a couple scalps level to level, um, depending on the space between these levels. So this is a 15-minute chart. So we're probably looking at roughly, yeah, that's about 10 points here. So if we're going level to level, I wouldn't necessarily call that a scalp, but from here to here, we're looking at more about 6 points. I'll take that as a scalp on ES. We've got there's a lot of single prints also from Thursday and Friday. So here is sell side single prints highlighted as purple lines or purple bars. Those are sell side single prints. I anticipate those will attempt to at least repair these in the week ahead. And then we've got some older buy side single prints down here in the 6,740s, 6,750s. I'll be watching those areas as well. And then we have some other single prints that haven't been closed further down in the 6,500s, but those aren't really relevant for this week's trading plan. But yeah, we're in we're in a larger balance area here, chopping between this composite. Um, we've seen a couple of attempts for buyers to explore value higher, retest that previous all-time high, but nothing stuck so far. So buyers are still in control, but they don't want to lose the 68.16 level if they want to maintain momentum here. If they lose this level, we've got a higher time frame level a little bit beneath that. If we look at the weekly plan here, this monthly value area high at 6,850s, low 6,860s. But generally speaking, we want to spend as little time beneath that composite value area low at 6,6 or 6,883. Don't want to spend too much time in this area. Uh, if we lose and hold beneath this monthly value area high, the shorts are on the table because we don't have a ton beneath us here. And we're going to undo a lot of work that buyers have put in since October, since the October sell-off started. I think he has tagged like 6% down, uh, peak to trough. But yeah, this is the week ahead. Hope this is useful, and well, see you next time. All right.